One of the challenges you did have is with Peter V'landys, or not a challenge, but working with Peter as well. And then when you left, you resigned the NRL, and it was everywhere. I can remember it at the time. How have you processed that? So you spent 4 years at the NRL in a time of extreme growth. I believe, I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but you doubled the TV rights in that time.
Yeah.
The game gone to a whole different level. Like, media wasn't just TV. You got multimedia, new stadiums, crowds, funding, and then you wake up and it's plastered across every broadsheet, across every TV station for days. I can remember even 2 weeks later, I think he was spotted at a local coffee shop, and it had something like "Todd Greenberg out now getting coffee." And I thought, oh, God, it's brutal, right? How did you process that, Todd?
Look, again, it's a good question. I haven't talked about that before, Maisie, because it's a very brutal industry. Sport's a brutal industry, and rugby league's a microcosm of that brutality. And I used to say this regularly, that rugby league is the toughest and most brutal game there is. And I'm talking about off the field, not on the field yet. So
it's a contact sport, right?
It is. It's a contact sport off the field. And, I also get a sense, and I said this before, about timing chooses you. You don't necessarily get to choose your timing. And in any leadership role, I always think there's a time frame on it. And I don't have a problem with Peter V'landys, and I'm sure he doesn't have a problem with me, but we just had different views on some things, and, our personalities didn't click. That's not a slight on him or me. It's just difference of opinions, and decide to go in a different direction. And so I poured everything I had into that role for a long period of time. And you come out of that, you reset, you have a few quiet weeks where you reflect, and you rely on your family, you rely on your brothers and your parents and your best mates. You have lots of hard conversations with yourself, and then you dust yourself off and you think, righto, what's next? How am I going to respond, and where do I make my next contribution? Not much more complex than that, to be honest.
What was the timeline on that? Because it's when someone leaves a job, and stuff was written about you that anyone leaving a job is hard, but when you have people making up stories, building on stories, whatever it is, that takes it to a whole different level, mate. It really does. So how long did that take, that initial process? And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about the 5 stages of grief, whereas the first bit is sort of denial, that hasn't really happened, then shock, and then bargaining, and then sadness, and then recovery. It's not linear. But I am really curious, how long did you process that first bit? It was brutal.
Yeah, look, it is brutal. There's no getting around it. And you can't sugarcoat the fact that when, you're in the papers and there's people stalking out your house and you can't get out your front driveway for a period of time because of that, that's not the way you want to live your life. So, yeah, it did take some time. I took 6 months off, and on reflection, it's probably the best 6 months of my life. I absolutely reconnected. Both my kids, young adults, said some things to me afterwards, over the dinner table, which was, Dad, we didn't realise you were so funny. We'd forgotten that, you can have such a good sense of humour, and that you're not on your phone while we're eating, those sorts of things, and being present when I needed to be present. And, on reflection, I probably could have been a better husband and a better father during those periods of time. But, you push and pull in all sorts of directions, and you're working some seriously long hours, and it's not easy, and you don't always find the balance. And on reflection, I think I was out of balance for a period of time there too. But again, that's reflection, and that's learning, and that's part of the journey. But yeah, it took me a few months, and you go through that. You're angry, and then you're sad, and then you're frustrated, but then you're enthused. And then I hit the golf course and worked on a handicap, and I got fit, and it was quite liberating. And then the liberating part really was, okay, what do I want to do next? And I got some specialist advice. I went and saw somebody about where my skill sets could be best utilised, and how do I sort of shape the next part of my professional career. And that really helped me. It really helped me figure out what I thought I was good at, but also what I was passionate about.